Take a look at the PulseChain ecosystem prices. So we've obviously had some volatility over the last week. You and I, Ewok, actually were the catalysts, it looked like, for this big drop that we had last week. I think we were right at this point in the show, actually, last week. So maybe I should check the chart again now and see if anything has changed. It doesn't look like it. But we had a big kind of drop of about 15% or so during this time last week.
Yeah.
But right now, we've been really consolidating in that area that we really dropped down to. So it looks like it may consolidate here for a bit before never returning, possibly. Something I saw that Sami had pointed out, and it does look similar if you look at the charts, but if you look at XRP Ripple over the summer, right after their victory over the SEC. Obviously, we remember they did like a 2x in one day off of that news. And, that was probably the biggest obvious short of a lifetime. It was obviously going to come back down. But if you look at they retraced almost that entire move. So Ripple beat the SEC, this big thing finally happened, and they retraced almost the entire move, and then they consolidated for a while before moving back up. And the charts actually do look relatively similar. So, I think we probably continue to consolidate here, maybe for the rest of the year, or right around this mark. But I kind of feel like we've seen our new low, if you will, of this 50% off the sack rate right around this region anyway. But what do you think about that, Ewok?
Yeah, I agree. I think my dog's going crazy. Bear with me a minute, okay?
No worries. Yeah, go. I can. You need to go do something. I can fill in.
Yeah, I'm just going to see why the massive barking. I'll be right back.
Okay, go ahead. So yeah, I think that we will continue to see consolidation here. Basically, these prices for the Pulse token, obviously, which everything's obviously liquidity bonded, so I think we'll see everything pretty much right there. But this is an interesting time, and there was an interesting event last night that I'm sure we're going to talk about. I've been looking out to see in the chat if anybody wants to bring it up. But obviously, the news last night that a lot of people on Twitter decided to go break to the world without actually reading anything and kind of misrepresenting what happened. But some things in terms of the certain three-letter agency lawsuit against Richard Hart, and whether or not he'd actually been served and things like that. I want to get into that conversation with Ewok, but I thought it was interesting, and I said this to Ewok actually last night when that news, if you even want to call it that, did break. And I said, I don't think we're going to see any kind of sell pressure off of this because we just had that huge move happen last week. This, regardless of what really happened, was kind of to be expected in this whole, useless ordeal anyway. So it just kind of is what it is. I don't think we'll see much of a move. And here we are 24 hours later, and we really haven't seen that. So I didn't notice when you got back, Ewok, but I was just saying how you and I were talking last night regarding the piece of news we're going to get to about hasn't he been served and all that.
Right.
Not really creating any extra sell-off event because I think we already saw that, and it's not really news anyway. So what do you make?
Yeah, well, I think it's a non-event. First of all, we realize that it's probably not true, not going to hold up.
Yeah.
And this comment says something about being served on Halloween. Well, there was a meeting on the 26th that extended it. So apparently that wasn't good enough. So, I think a lot or the majority of the weekends have been washed out. There's still maybe a little bit to go. But, I'm pretty certain that we're damn close. And what's left to sell off probably isn't going to affect things a whole lot. The one thing I did see, and again, not to FUD, but there were, 300 to 600 validators that came offline. And you do need 32 million for each of those. So why they came offline? Are they going to rotate into a different investment? Is the, 14, 15, 16% not good enough? Do they think they can get higher yield somewhere else? Are they going to sell? What's going to happen? I don't know. But if you figure, 600 or so times 32 million each, that's a lot of pulse. Just be prepared for a move like that. Maybe they'll move it into liquid loans, do something, I don't know enough to speculate if it's one wallet, but to see that many come offline at the same time, leads me to believe that there's a bigger play maybe that they're looking for. I don't know. So that's something to consider. But yeah, I think we're pretty much there. I think we've
Yeah.
pretty much bottomed out, and any news at this point isn't really going to affect things a whole awful lot.